I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. March 13th, Hamburg IDA Board of Directors meeting. Roll call. Bob Hutchison.
Here.
Janet McGregor-Clark.
Here.
Andrew Palmer.
Here.
Davis Pekulski.
Here.
Bob Reynolds.
Here.
And we have Bob Mahoney, Jennifer Strong, and Mary Doyle. Okay, a first item agenda would be a motion to close the public hearing for Staub Precision Machine and Staub 3 LLC, March 13th at 7:37 a.m.
So, second, I was there.
Thank
Steve,
you.
there. So move. Second.
I don't think we don't need to vote, right? In a public hearing. Just, I should have mentioned this before.
Any correspondence?
Yeah, there was no
Right.
additional correspondence. Sorry, I should have mentioned that first.
Well, you
Okay.
did Good.
That public hearing is closed. Motion to open the March 13th, 2024 Hamburg, New York IDA Board of Directors meeting at 7:37 a.m.
So moved.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Bob. First item on the agenda, motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 14th, 2024.
So moved.
Thanks, Bob.
Second.
Thank you, Davis. On the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carried. Did that charge you with something? And that to a buddy of yours. Okay, next item on the agenda is the financial report from February 29th, 2024. Mr. Reynolds, please.
Good morning. Okay, first thing, we had income of $3,627.44. We had general expenses of $14,931.87 expense. There was really nothing outstanding other than we did pay 3 months of rent to the town of Hamburg for $1,200. And so our ordinary, our expenses were greater than our income, so we ended up $11,304.43 negative this month. If you look at the graph, we're doing pretty good against our graph on the Sean hands out. So our total balance for the organization is $875,802.27. Any questions?
Now I'll make a motion to accept.
Second. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Andy. On the question. Just one item of note, our IDA 2023 independent audit is complete. We'll submit that to the board. We'll have an audit committee meeting and then we'll formally adopt that in our April meeting. The Land Corp should be following through as well.
I won't be here for the April meeting.
Oh, okay. We have to report it in Paris anyway by the 31st. We're supposed to have it adopted, but I think we'll get it in there and then the resolution will follow.
There's nothing, so.
No, it's not great in terms of, revenue, there's no surprises in there. But no, it's a good audit, good management report. The financials could be better, but struggling along.
Right, we know about that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Next is my update. Just check on Zoom here. So again, we're looking at receivables due that has been updated because we had a project extension. So, we're still pushing projects to close. The one I think is mentioned in there, Mission Hills Phase 4. They're expiring in August. We're waiting on an updated bank commitment letter so Jennifer can start her progress. And K&H, which their new build project will be approved today. They're tracking through July. So ideally we'll close or get some extensions on these projects in July. We've had no sponsorships or grants since the last have been approved. The employment impact the current employment and new jobs committed, that will be updated as Paris is updated. So we've obtained our employment reports for 2023, of which you may have seen some positive press with Amazon creating 205 new jobs. So that data will be updated and positive increases along that side.
So do we report those out this year then, Sean?
Yeah, they will be 2023 numbers. Any prior year numbers are reported in March of the following year.
Okay, all right. So that'll be under the created column here then for this year's
Yes,
report.
yeah, created and retained.
That's good.
So, we have our prime sites listed there. Community engagement.
Just
Oh, yes.
on those prime sites, I'm sorry, but, and I should know the answer to this, but I don't recall, and if you could remind me, so is there a way we can help, I don't wanna say help, but maybe incentivize, I mean, that's over a quarter, more than a quarter million. Square foot of space in the town of Hamburg that could be rented out. Is there a way to come alongside these developers and possibly attract businesses here that would help them, or?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really part of what we are all about. Not only, highlighting these sites for the board, we have them available on our website. I work, probably at least monthly, where I talk to representatives, either the owners or brokers that are looking to, fill these sites or reactivate these sites, working with companies to see if there's a match. So, absolutely, that's really part of the, in terms of IDA, we have to remember we can't do a pilot on current investment. So if someone moves into IOVA, we can't necessarily offer a pilot on a building that's had a pilot already. But if they have a substantial amount of spend, we could potentially do like a sales tax incentive, because, with 200,000 square feet would probably come up a number of jobs.
Yeah.
So, if they're looking to do self-storage there, we likely would incentivize it. But if they're going to create 50 or 100 or more good jobs, then we would look to incentivize it. So, certainly it's marketing and connecting and trying to find a match for these sites, and then incentives if they're needed, and if it's within policy, then we can incorporate that as well.
And the developers are aware of that, I'm assuming
Yeah.
you're very good at what you do, I'm just
Yeah,
spelling
no,
it out, talking it through.
yeah, no, they are. And as you can see, over the course of the last couple of years, when we've really highlighted this, there's greater availability than in the past. So now, where the market was really 0% vacancy in commercial and industrial, in Hamburg, we're probably high because that IOVA site, 200,000 square feet, that's a big site. It's like when the Kmart was vacant, it skews the retail vacancy numbers. But regionally, you're probably around like 3%, vacancy. So it hasn't been lost. It's been new buildings to market. So it's a combination of those two factors.
3% vacancy is pretty low.
Nationwide though, but yeah, I'm saying specifically for town of Hamburg, that's extremely high.
And those are two good buildings. That
Yeah.
IOV building's a good building, and the Worldwide's a decent building as well.
Mhm.
I mean, they should find tenants.
I guess what Andy's asking, is there anything else that we can do to bring it into the public eyes? Do we, from our standpoint, is there any,
That's exactly, I mean, we just
Yeah.
did 50 grand towards Pitch Hamburg.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's a very good investment, and maybe there's a way we can invest money besides
just
just
something to
time.
think about? If
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
like come up with something that we could kind of drive that, bring that.
Yeah, let me talk to that, let
Yeah.
me talk to the owners and see what.
Yeah, see what they're doing.
Their driving points are. First thing that comes to mind is trying to
I
help
don't
with
even know. who the-
advertising or marketing expense, but in some fashion, maybe they should put more influence on that as well.
Well,
There may be other factors why
Maybe
they're
they could
not
work with
pushing
us.
the sites as hard as they can.
Like,
But, for instance, the Gateway building, we're talking, it's under contract, fingers crossed. There's still some questions, But I'm talking weekly to every 2 weeks between the prospective purchaser, the broker, kind of keeping everyone engaged, seeing where it's at and trying to, if there's anything that's kind of like not moving forward, what can we help? But getting meetings set up with planning, working through entitlements. So try to help out wherever we can.
And you're very good at that. That's not, I'm just saying that maybe as a board, as a board member, I would definitely be for a hard investment.
Okay, no, I appreciate that.
Push that, because you already invested your time, you're very
Is
good
that
at
coming in
that.
place though, Junior? That warehouse, or is that just out of the town?
What,
I think
where?
That's the time.
Yeah,
Child base.
That's
In
in
the
the
town.
town of
it's in
Hamburg.
the town, just outside of us.
Yeah,
One of the things you have to factor in is money is tight too. Nobody wants to finance anything. You have 3 or 4 projects downtown that are sitting there either not started or half built.
Yeah.
I think the better I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, talk,
Yeah.
please.
Well, I just think, it's about being competitive, right? And it's not gonna get better.
No,
So I think as a board, being ahead of the game and trying to help wherever we can would be a good foot forward, which Sean, you do it all the time anyway. I'm just saying us, is there anything we can do?
One thing I will say, there's the Canadian investment that we've seen a lot of, and it still continues. A lot of the investors and developers from Canada want to own. So that's a, so we see a lot of, with working with Invest Buffalo, a lot of interest in purchase. They wanted 30 to 50,000 square feet to purchase. They don't want to lease. Like even for like Walden development, which we still have opportunity there. Build the suit lease. Iovate, that current person wants to own it and lease it out, similar to World.
aren't they a Canadian
I
company?
believe they are.
Iovate?
Well, Iovate, no, the owner is Canadian, so he essentially owns the real property.
Yeah.
The company was sold to essentially. like a
But
hedge fund.
originally it was a
Yeah.
Canadian firm
Yes.
that built that.
So, yeah, so the Canadian still owns it,
Okay,
and is looking to maintain ownership and lease it. So, yeah, so
Thank you.
part of that too is just working through the math. But no, I appreciate that. I'll follow up with the owners and, because I think that's an important part of it. Let's not just throw money at something. Let's make, do double back and, I appreciate the idea commitment, but let's see where we can get a sound investment on our money. Yeah, great press, in the community engagement on Amazon, the Buffalo News had covered it. Channel 7 covered it, so I thought that was some good promotion and a positive result. Obviously, that project was a challenged, and then certainly had some environmental, economic challenges that delayed it a little bit, but they worked hard, we worked hard, everybody hit their deliverables, and we'll continue to monitor it for the life of the pilot.
I do want to say, Sean, if you haven't seen the interview that Sean gave on Channel 7.
Who sent it?
It hit it out of the park in my
Nice.
opinion. It was a great interview and did a lot for the town of Hamburg and the IDA board.
Thank you.
Very positive.
Pitch was in the news. They had a lot of press with their second cohort rollout, and there was some mention of the Hamburg IDA as a supporter. So that's great that organization mentions us and the support that we provide. We had an Empire State Development Regional meeting. It was great to have Senator Gallivan's office. I ran into one of their community representatives at the ESD meeting, and they've offered to become more engaged with the IDA. They were at the recent public hearings. The office was represented, and we will include per their request on meeting agenda distributions and minutes distributions to keep that office informed and engaged in what we're doing here in Hamburg. So it's great to have the interest and great to share the information.
Right, I think it was important, it was very good to see them at those public hearings. And I
Absolutely.
think it's important that we do maintain good contact with them.
Absolutely.
33 Scott Street, my diamond in the rough that I cannot let go of.
Get rid of it.
We don't own it. We have no title to it. But, you know, again, like with the municipal investment that has happened there, the infrastructure and the roadway improvements there, you know, it's engaged the owner, and they've, you know, been struggling to try to find a path for redevelopment there on their own. Hey, Jamal. And, they have, filed the brownfield application. They've received brownfield designation. So this will be a next step and hopefully a new life and redevelopment, reuse of that building over there at Scott Street. So,
Awesome news.
you know, continue to try to reuse some of these former industrial sites and, you know, get them back to being productive assets for the town.
Is the executive committee still looking at potential investments for IDA as far as a home base for us? Or is that kind of falling off the wagon?
No,
We haven't really had talked about
they're,
changing our,
Just curious.
no, but I continue to monitor it, and actually I have a call this week that the new building in Blaisdell, 3651 South Park. They are doing a price improvement, I guess you would say, is kind of the
Probably
current
good.
marketing lingo. So, you know, we can look at that site again, so we continue, you know, if you see anything available in the town, we, you know, you maintain contacts with these real estate brokers, you know, I meet with the group, I represent the group as a leader in that organization. So to try to find things on the market and maybe not on the market too, where we would be, so, yeah, so,
So are you looking at this, Sean?
I'm just
trying to get an answer.
in terms of, no, I mean, I will look at it. I'm gonna meet with the owner. We market it. So this little picture
Yeah.
here was on our social media.
Okay.
So these are some of the things that we do to try to, you know, advance these underutilized sites. But, you know, we'll look at it, you know, with the new price and maybe it would be financially viable. So we, you know, it's kind of one of those things, is there a square foot match? If there's not, what can we do with the balance of the space? Is it affordable for us? You know, does it make sense? You know, obviously now we have to pay rent. So that kind of alters the equation. So we have some rent expense. So where maybe we could have, instead of rent expense, have mortgage expense and build equity for the organization. So that poses
So
kind of a shift.
again, just if we did buy it, we don't go in as a nonprofit, we go in as we have to pay taxes and everything like that, right?
Technically, we would not, but in past conversations, we talked about, you know, maybe, you know, it may not be a property tax, but it may be like, I'm looking at Jennifer, like maybe a community benefit agreement or a post-community agreement.
Okay.
Where essentially we would not be taking, you know, a rent paying asset off the market.
Right, but I look at the village of Blaisdell doesn't really want another profit, they want taxes to come in, which I understand, which they should, right?
Right.
So, but if there's an agreement we can do with them,
A community benefit agreement.
okay, all right.
well, and
But I just don't wanna come in and swipe a building and all of a sudden,
if.
it's not what
we
we're
were
really
to-
about, we're there to
Right,
bring income into the.
If we were to lease out part of that building
Yeah.
to somebody, not a nonprofit,
Yeah,
then that part of the building would be still on the tax roll.
okay,
It would be apportioned out.
Just spitballing here, and it's just ideas, you know, but if we were to purchase a building like this, number one, it's been on the market for a while. I live in Blaze, I've been watching it. I think there's an opportunity there for someone that can take advantage of a good investment. And then if we don't benefit, use the whole building, is there a way we can incorporate that into our pitch Hamburg? So you have a pitch Hamburg in a village, and then let's say there's 3 cohorts, there's a cohort, 3 businesses need office space. The number 1 prize goes to Village of Hamburg, and the runners up go to Blaisdell or something, but it's like, it's at a discounted rate to kind of spur that incubator movement.
Mhm. Yeah, it's feasible. All right, any other questions, comments? All right, next items under new business, we have the Staub 3 LLC. This is a resolution of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency authorizing Staub 3 LLC to acquire vacant land and to construct and install and equip an approximately 58,000 square feet advanced manufacturing facility at 0 Grimsby Drive, Village of Hamburg, as agent for the agency, for lease to the agency and subsequent lease back to the lessee, and further sublease to Staub Precision Machine Inc., and to take other action. Whereas Staub 3 LLC has entered into negotiations with the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency with respect to the acquisition, construction, and installation and equipping of an approximately 58,000 square foot advanced manufacturing facility at 0 Grimsby Drive for subsequent lease back to the lessee and further lease back to Staub Precision Machine LLC, who will be the sole tenant. And whereas the inducement of a previous project with the lessee by agency dated October 20th, 2021 has expired, and the project contemplated herein replaces the 2021 application by the lessee, and whereas the assistance contemplated by the agency will include mortgage tax abatement, sales tax exemption on any materials and or equipment purchased for incorporation into the project, and real property tax abatement in accordance with existing agency uniform tax exemption policy guidelines. And whereas the lessee has submitted an eligibility questionnaire and other materials and information to the agency to initiate the accomplishment of the above. And whereas the agency has, after giving all required notices, held a public hearing on the project pursuant to section 859-A of General Municipal Law. Whereas the eligibility questionnaire sets forth certain information with respect to the lessee, including the following: that the lessee desires agency assistance with respect to the acquisition, construction, and installation and equipping of an approximately 58,000 square foot advanced manufacturing facility to the lessee and further sublease to the sublessee for continued growth of the sublessee. If the assistance is granted, the sublessee anticipates retaining 33 full-time equivalent employees and hiring another 5 full-time equivalent employees at the project location within 2 years following the completion of the project. That the project will result in substantial capital investment, that there will be no adverse disruption of existing employment at facilities of a similar nature in the village or town of Hamburg. If agency assistance is disapproved, the lessee would have to scale back the project, negatively impacting future growth in New York, and that, therefore, agency assistance is necessary to encourage the lessee to proceed with the project in the village and town of Hamburg. And whereas the agency desires to further encourage the lessee with respect to the project, if by doing so, it is able to induce the lessee to proceed with the project in the village of Hamburg. Now, therefore, the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency hereby resolves as follows. The agency hereby determines that the acquisition, construction, equipping, and installation of the project and the financing or other assistance thereof by the agency pursuant to New York State Industrial Development Agency Act will promote and is authorized by and will be in furtherance of the policy of the state as set forth in said act. The agency further hereby determines, on the basis of the eligibility questionnaire and supplemental information furnished by the lessee, as follows. It would have not financed or otherwise assisted the project except to induce the location of the project in the area to be served by the project, as there is a demonstrable need for the project. That agency financing or other assistance is reasonably necessary to promote economic development and to induce the lessee to proceed with the project. There will be no substantial adverse disruption of existing employment or facilities of a similar nature to the project in such area. The project will allow the lessee to expand its business in the town of Hamburg. The project will create additional employment and provide substantial capital investment. The agency further determines on the basis of the lessee's eligibility questionnaire that if the project as represented is reasonably necessary to provide the purposes of the act, subject to the verification and confirmation of such representations prior to the lease with the mortgage or lease-only transaction, and the project is an integral part of the lessee's plan to proceed with the project in the village of Hamburg. Authorizations. The chairman, vice chairman, executive director, secretary, and assistant secretary of the agency, and other appropriate officials of the agency and its agents are hereby authorized and directed to take whatever steps may be necessary to cooperate with the lessee to assist in the acquisition, equipping, and installation of the project. The lessee is authorized to initiate the acquisition, construction, installation, and equipping of the 50,000 square foot advanced manufacturing facility at 0 Grimsby Drive for lease to the agency and subsequent lease back to the lessee and further lease back to the sublessee at a total project cost of approximately $8.835 million, subject to the obtaining of all required approvals from the village of Hamburg and other involved governmental agencies. The agency is hereby authorized to enter into such agreements with the lessee and sublessee as the chairman, vice chairman, executive director, or other officer may deem necessary in order to accomplish the above. The lessee and sublessee are authorized to make purchases of goods and services relating to the project that would otherwise be subject to New York State sales and local use tax in the amount up to $2,740,500, which may result in New York State local sales and use tax exemption benefits not to exceed $239,793.75. The agency may consider any request by the lessee and sublessee for increases in the amount of sales and use tax benefits authorized by the agency upon being provided with appropriate documentation detailing the additional purchases. Any such action heretofore taken by the lessee in initiating the acquisition, construction, installation, and equipping the project is hereby ratified, confirmed, and approved. Any expenses incurred by the agency with respect to the project and finding thereof shall be paid by the lessee. The agency hereby authorizes and approves real property tax abatement benefits through a 10-year pilot estimated to provide $1,461,134 in real property tax abatement benefits and resulting in estimated total payments in lieu of taxes of $388,403 over the term of the pilot agreement. The agency hereby authorizes and approves the value of mortgage to be placed on the facility of approximately $8,835,000, but that the mortgage tax exemption benefit shall not exceed $66,262.50. The execution and delivery of a project, an agent agreement, closing agreement, lease to the agency, and leaseback agreement between the agency and lessee, each being substantially in the form approved by the agency for prior transactions or in form approved by the chairman, vice chairman, executive director, secretary is hereby authorized. The appropriate officers of the agency are hereby authorized to execute, seal, acknowledge, and deliver such agreement and any and all papers, instruments, opinions, certificates, affidavits, and other documents, and to do and cause to be done any and all acts and things necessary or proper for carrying out this resolution. The execution and delivery of a mortgage from the agency and the lessee to a lender selected by the lessee, approved by the chairman, vice chairman, executive director, secretary, of approximately $8,835,000 and other ancillary documents, if required, which mortgage and ancillary documents shall be substantially in the form approved by the agency. The agency has made and makes no representation or warranty whatsoever, either express or implied, with respect to the merchantability, condition, environmental status, fitness, design, operation, or workmanship of any part of the project. The provisions of section 875 of the general municipal law shall apply to this project. Should the agency's participation in this project be challenged by any party in the courts or otherwise, the lessee shall defend, indemnify, and hold harmless the agency and its members, officers, and employees from any and all losses arising from such challenge. This resolution is subject to compliance with all local building and zoning requirements. The agency has reviewed the approvals adopted by the Hamburg Village Board on October 18th, 2021, determining that the proposed action will not have a significant impact on the environment and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be required to be prepared by the agency. The provisions of the Town of Hamburg Industrial Development Agency policy for recapture and or termination or modification of financial assistance and local labor policy shall be applied to this project. This resolution shall take effect immediately and shall continue in full force and effect for 2 years from the date hereof. On or after such 2-year anniversary, the agency may at its option terminate the effectiveness of this resolution, allow the lessee additional time in which to close transactions contemplated by this resolution based on affirmative actions taken by the lessee to complete such transactions. Upon any allowance of additional time to close, the agency may charge the lessee an extension fee in accordance with the agency's fee schedule. I'm done. So moved.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Janet. On to question.
I think it's a good project. And I know it's been delayed in the past. And this time we're gonna give them a 2-year window to get things completed, which goes on with our new policy of going with a 2-year project timeframe instead of the year that we used to. So I think this is a good project, good company. I'm all for it.
Well, my only comment is that the public should realize that we set maximum benefit packages where we did give things going on, and I think that's important to understand. Like, we only not to exceed 66,000 on the sales tax or mortgage tax. So that's a good step. Do we put that right in the contract out there so everybody kind of knows what's the maximum benefits that they have and they move this forward?
Well, you pointed out that there's a pilot number, a projected pilot number that they will be paying too, so.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate the board's, patience, flexibility. I struggle with patience on these projects, being in the front row seat here. This was approved at one point, not going forward. I mean, this is, you've seen it in the press recently in the news, mortgage, the company has overcome, I think, some employment challenges and labor market challenges. We've talked to the owner, the president, Joe Pinker. They've struggled with, the first thing that we say when companies have an employment shortfall is pay. His challenge was getting applications. Like, the pay was not even in the negotiation. They've really positioned this company as a great employment opportunity in the town and village. They've essentially taken over a whole roadway where they've built this industry in the village of Hamburg. The products that come out of this facility are amazing and lead innovations in technology worldwide. So I'm really proud to have this opportunity to work with this company in Hamburg and to be a part of trying to help their growth. And ultimately the owner's decision to acquire a company in the state of Ohio and relocate it to New York is a story that is unfortunately often rarely heard. And I think that the town of Hamburg has created an employment environment through other governance means beyond the IDA and community character. And they've really influence this developer to maintain and expand their investment in the town. So that's something that should not be understated with this project and the related employment and projects associated with it.
Well stated, John.
All right, any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is to adopt the revised Hamburg IDA fee schedule. This schedule is provided in your packet. We had reviewed this with the governance committee and the executive committee, and it's now being presented to the full board for approval. We've essentially, in working with some of the challenges as we've talked to here, as I've learned, in my work with the New York State Economic Development Council, with other local IDAs, the timeline is just not happening. These projects are not closing within 2 years. We are not an agency based upon fees. Certainly we have to charge fees as a basis of our operation. We are not supported through any other, governmental agency. We operate independent. We operate based on our own fees. So certainly that's important and a factor in our viability and sustainability. But I do not think we should be punitive to these companies when they are subject to, environmental conditions beyond their control. Therefore, we've extended this project window to provide 24 months. However, with this new project and some additional flexibility, I would encourage the board that we drive to enforce the associated fees. We have extended the window, but once you go beyond that window, we've been gracious and we've kind of adopted policies. We have adopted policies through COVID, but some of those related delays are beyond us. So I think that this is fair in providing the developer some additional time, but I think you are charged with a responsibility to the taxpayer. So we need to maintain that fee policy, because that is our leverage. So that if you're approved for $8.8 million of investment, we'll give you 2 years. We understand that's a reasonable timeline. If you don't do it, because we need this investment, because then it begins to generate pilots, it begins to generate employment and benefits to the taxpayers, then we will hold you accountable. So that's where that, I'm not in favor of any blanket waiver of fees, but I am in favor of expanding the window and allowing these developers some more time, but still, maintaining the stick, so to speak, if the project is not, their developer obligations are not met as a responsibility back to the taxpayers. Any questions on it, or we'll get a motion?
Yeah, you need a motion first. Motion's approved.
Second.
Thank you, Davis. Thank you, Sean. On a question.
I got one for my attorney. So we're gonna just put this line below the application fee. We don't have to make anything special out of this, that red line, the red paragraph we're putting in.
Right,
That's fine right there. That's all I want to make sure. You don't need another.
Attached to the application,
Okay,
so it will be updated there as well, and
okay,
then they have to initial it
okay.
as part of the application.
Yeah, so it doesn't need a special section or anything like this. Okay, no, as long as we're good with all the legal stuff.
Yes, and I had reviewed it.
I'm sure you have. Thanks, Jim.
All right, and thanks to all of our subcommittees for participation on that. Any other questions?
No, just thank you for being proactive on this executive committee, because I think it's a good policy, and anything to encourage development, responsible development, is going to be appreciated by the citizens, because there's an article, there's since 2021, it's over 500,000 people have left New York State. So this is a good step forward in my opinion.
That's
And
great.
we'll Less tax dollars.
Less tax.
That's it.
Maybe we should read this out
Okay,
too,
so-
what it says, approved projects will close within 24 months of resolution date. If the lessee requests an extension, the fee shall be 1/2 of the agency's administrative fee for each 12 months extension. Post closing sales tax extensions will be a $600 processing fee for each of the 12-month extensions. That's what we're putting into our fee schedule. Just so we have it on record for the public.
Thank you.
And the new schedule really is based on what we've been seeing over the last
Right.
couple of years. I mean, it just made sense to go out 2 years.
Yeah, I couldn't get that financial secretary thing in here. Question about?
Yeah, question of that, you read it. On this extension, do they have to give you, the board, a reason why the extension, like an act of God or extenuating circumstances? Do they have to give you a reason maybe for the first extension? And what if they ask for a second? Like, what happens?
Each request, so they could come for a second and they would be subject to the same fee as amended here. Each request, we require a written request, and then we have to provide it as a agenda item. So it would be on the agenda, there would be a formal resolution. We encourage, and I think has been the case in all the occurrences, we encourage either, a written explanation or presence at the meeting to convey.
Yeah, okay, if I want an extension, you said I need an extension, I don't have to give you a cause, and that's why I'm leading to. Because there's been some sites over the years that, they've gotten monies and bonds and tax exemptions, and they've never followed through on their projects. So when I'm reading this, it makes sense, but if they ask for a second extension, they have to probably give more information than they did in the first.
I think the first extension, in my experience, whenever they ask for extension, there's always some kind of conveyance of why. And can anybody remember a different time? I'm going off memory here.
I think even in between too,
Yeah.
Sean's trying to communicate.
Yeah,
with
Sean
the-
is very aggressive. He's an aggressive guy.
Whoa.
Well, and again, I mean, when these projects close, we you'll learn if you look at our financials, like, these projects need to close so we can, maintain our revenue source. So we want to drive that, we want to drive the investment, so then that pilot starts burning off. That's when the taxpayers get policy. So, yeah, so so for instance, with K&H and Staub Precision Machine as approved now, we become, engaged with this company. We want to know what's going on. We need certificates of insurance. So there's a lot of communication that goes back and forth. Unfortunately, sometimes we do approve projects and they sit. We approved 290 Lake, which is a mixed-use development in the town of Hamburg, and that essentially kind of didn't move forward through COVID. And at that point, the benefits go away. So that piece of land still sits there. There's no IDA, opportunity for the current developer because it will time out if they don't get extensions. And, from my experience on the board, there needs to be like a business justification that the extension is warranted. It's not that, I just don't feel like it.
Yeah, it just makes sense because the way it's written, it makes a lot of sense, that I could go on and on and on extensions without giving any cause or any reason.
You would be subject to additional fees per the policy though. So it,
Probably, so with my business form, maybe that's okay, I'm allowed.
yeah, potentially, but they generally don't want to pay additional money. Yeah, agreed.
Let the board know and say, hey, look.
Well, they don't get
I
any
can't
benefits
because-
though.
Pardon me?
They don't really get any benefits till they get the project started and completed.
Well, then that money that you talked about, that just goes back, if the project doesn't go through, that just goes back into the general fund.
There's no money.
There's no,
Nothing changed yet.
No, there's no, then that's one of my biggest frustrations with the public, and we don't come around with a check saying, thanks for coming to Hamburg.
No, I
No,
know.
but you just said something I think needs to be addressed, is that this is a benefit issue. This is when that foundation is in the ground and we start construction. This is where the benefit comes from. So when they get their C of O, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, if you get your C of O and the town of Hamburg, the wonderful assessor comes around and says, this building's worth 10 million. I spent 7, well, he needs more tax money, whatever.
Right.
So what that prevents is that $10 million, what you want to call assessment on the building to get its certificate, because they can't use the property until the town of Hamburg gives them a certificate of occupancy, right? So they have zero money. There is no, we do not write a check to them
Right.
to do this project. So that the benefit of the investment comes the first time during that pilot. Where they can have limited tax expenditure. So it's not a set, it's set dollar figure, but it's not like there's money in the account and Sean says, congratulations, you got your pilot, here's your first check. It doesn't work like that.
No, I understand it.
I know you probably do. I'm just
Yeah,
putting this
so
out
all the
there.
council- But what I refer to is the comparison I try to do when I look at Hamburg here, the Bass Pro project years ago. $35 million was allocated for the Bass Pro. He backs out.
Okay,
Well, that 35 million wasn't given to him, right? But that goes back into another fund. You can't use that for anything else, because that was allocated money for Bass.
Yeah, but
Pro.
that's
that's
different.
totally different.
We just do, yeah, we only give incentives through tax breaks and sales tax and break and mortgage tax. We give abatements that way.
You're not funding the entire.
No, we don't fund it. Well, we are doing
We're discounting.
Discounting, it's
I
not
think it's-
funding.
we do.
Not funding, right?
Yeah, so it's, I think the high point in the, and Andy, it's a misconception generally that we are providing tax dollars. We're discounting new tax dollars coming in.
No.
So,
In almost every case, because it's a pet peeve, sorry, Bob, but. And almost, I can't remember, and I'm not gonna say it never happened. If some developer comes on a green piece, right? The tax money that the town was getting or village before the pilot. Is almost always less than what the pilot is.
Right.
So even with the discount of taxes, the town or village is still getting more. And definitely the special districts. Right.
Right, there's no abatement on special district charge,
That's
your
the fire
fire
department.
and your sewer and all that, anything.
Your
based on
fire, your
that
sewer,
whole,
your street lighting.
Yeah, are
pay the full
They're
bill.
are taxed on the full assessment.
Okay, no, thank you.
Well, we like that because when you go back to the town board meetings, they start talking about us. Do a hell of a job here, guys and ladies. Okay, motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried.
Stay.
Unfinished business, just remember your required certifications. Achieve that training.
It says X is the next mine. What's it say next year?
Oh, yeah, you Mary's provided a list.
Yeah, oh my.
Mine's all that serious.
Whoa, what's up with this?
I don't know. He's never here.
You better call me.
He's in Albany lobbying on our behalf right now.
Not my bad.
The IDA behalf.
No.
Privilege of the floor. Executive session,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn at 8:24 AM.
Gonna get Jamel out of here. Oh, I thought you,
Hey, motion to adjourn.
hey, you look at your watch. I thought you had to get out of here. Sorry, Jamel.
Davis, motion to adjourn? Thank you. Oh,
Second.
did you?
Oh, whatever you guys. do.
Yes.
All in
Davis is
favor?
fine.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. We have a light agenda on the land court.
Yes, we do. Just a $40 million deal.
No,
That's not on.
that will come
What?
up in April.
That's an
So
April.
I'll update.
I'll be in Phoenix.
Yeah,
March
we'll
Madness.
close the public hearing now. Oh, here. it is. So before I close the public hearing, we've received no written or otherwise communication in favor or opposed to the financing of Feedmore Western New York Foundation Incorporated. The project, the underwriting is still in process. So we were not able to do the resolutions for the bond inducement. So, but likely they will be up in April.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, like we said, as we like to move these projects forward as quickly as possible, they're not there. It's a $99 million project. They'll give them a little bit of slack. I think their progress as an organization has been amazing, between fundraising and organizing this venture through the development stages. So they're not quite there yet. The 50 million in the public hearing is a not to exceed. So, we will likely see, once the resolutions are proposed to the IDA, a lesser amount, but we were just not sure, with the volatility in construction costs, with their aggressive fundraising and successful fundraising. It kind of, is bringing the amount of financing requirement down, which is great because it just shows the financial value. Unfortunately, that the organization is in need, but it is, increasingly, financially viable. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing for Feedmore Western New York Foundation on March 13th at 8:27 a.m.
So, go Janet.
It's okay, second.
Thank you, Janet.